From Wall Street to Main Street to help small business owners have the same capital as corporate America and give them the same resources as a larger company. We cover business funding, business credit, scaling, business consulting, and much more. Check out the website at shieldadvisorygroup.com. Welcome to the show, The Liquid Lunch Project.
Lou, you ready for another round?
Yes, sir.
All right, guys, we got a really special guest back for round two, Mr. Greg Mohr, the Franchise Maven. Good to see you again, Greg. What's going on, my man?
Lou and Matt, thank you very much for having me again. Just another beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Greg, you're not on by accident. We loved you the first time, and we love franchise businesses. So give us a state of the union of franchises in America. What's new? What's trendy? What are you seeing out there?
Great question, Lou. You know, when I first started franchise consulting about 10 years ago, I got a lot of people that just love the food industry. And then we had a run on yogurt, of all things, yogurt and pizza franchises for a while there. We had a group doing that, and they were hot, and they were just going left and right. Not all of them worked out so well, unfortunately, on that. So with after the COVID thing going on, I get a big trend for people saying that they want something that is an essential services. Ones that aren't necessarily the most exciting thing, like owning a brewery or something like that, where they actually have a business that you have to have on a regular basis. It doesn't matter what the economy is doing out there. It doesn't matter what kind of disasters we have going on. It's got to be fixed. It's got to be fixed now. Essential services are just the biggest trend. Home services to business owners, like cleaning the businesses. Huge thing during COVID, cleaning the businesses on that one. Those companies, franchises did that, even took off even more because those businesses had to be cleaned even more often than that on that. So that's really what people are focusing on right now. And that's a big trend, is that they just want those. And they're essentially a lot less of an investment for the same amount or more money than a brick and mortar.
Now, Greg, are you seeing that these service-based franchises lower the barrier to entry than the traditional brick and mortar?
As far as financing goes, Lou, yes. As far as the financials, how much you have to have, yes. They're still very stringent on what they're looking for in a potential franchisee on that. So that's still, you've got to be a good fit for them. But other than that, you're looking at $150,000 or less or thereabouts to get into one of these. So it's a lot easier from a funding standpoint and a financial standpoint to get into these and still make some really good money.
So, Greg, let me ask you though. So somebody says they want to open a business. We want to go open a McDonald's. We know they have an operating system. You don't really need to be a cook. But if you're going to go into a service-based business, whether it's plumbing, HVAC, or electrical, don't you have to have some background in that industry?
No, not really, Matt. You just have to have a desire to do it. They'll teach you everything else. As a matter of fact, my handyman services franchises, they tell me, do not bring us handyman. The reason they don't want the handyman is because the handyman want to go in there and do the work, and they don't want people doing the work. That's not what they want you to do. They want you to build that business. They want you working on that business, building that business up. Let somebody else do the work for you. So most of the franchises are looking for those business type people, those people that can drive a team, motivate a team, and then go out in the community, shake hands, kiss the babies, and go out there and let people know what you're doing so that you build that business up and you hire somebody else to do all that work for you.
So what about licensing? Like, don't you need like an electrical license in states and HVAC licenses and plumbing licenses if you're doing that type of work?
Depends on the state, but absolutely, especially if you're looking at like the plumbing services or electrical services, the first thing you're going to be getting is a master plumber or a master electrician. And that's where a great franchise system is going to help you find those people, because they don't expect you to know where to find them on there. So they'll help you do it. Now, different ones, say painting, for instance, if you were to do painting in California, you require a C33 license, something like that, to do that. So that's a bit challenging if you were to be in California. Now, if you're in Texas and want to do painting, you're good to go on that. So it's going to vary by state as far as what the licensing goes. But the franchisors, for the most part, they will help you go out there and find those people that you will need to fill those positions and that have those licenses.
Interesting. Do you see any people that already have a business and they convert their existing client base? Let's say they were a small handyman. They didn't really have a business. They were doing stuff on the side, but they convert it into a franchise?
Yes, we get people like that all the time, Matt, that want to go and turn their business into a franchise. They've reached a point in time where they want to do more business, but they kind of reached a plateau. So they're looking for ways to expand out. And really, there's two different ways to expand out on that, Matt, when you're doing that. You spend your own money to open up other locations on there. Granted, you get all the, all the income that's coming in on that, but you have to spend your money to do it. Or you do it the franchising route, where somebody else spends their money to open up a new location. You get the royalties on there. So franchising and exponential growth. I do help people. Senior care, I've helped one turn their business into a franchise. A brewery, I've helped them turn their business into a franchise. And then all my friends out there in the consulting world, they've done similar things with all sorts of different types of businesses, handyman services, retail businesses, things like that. So, yep, great way to grow exponentially in franchising.
So, I see a lot of stuff out there in the online world, and people always say, I'm going to franchise this. I'm going to franchise this, right? I think people don't even know what it means half the time. It's just something that they heard in the passing. But like, what does a business need in order to become franchisable, I guess, or a franchisor?
Yeah, great question, Matt. One of the things that we look at too, you can basically, so when it comes right down to it, if you've got a business, you want to turn it into a franchise for $50,000, you can turn it into a franchise. Simple as that. My team of people that'll do it are probably not going to be the ones that do it for you, because they're very ethical. If it doesn't work, if it doesn't look like it's a reasonable thing to turn into a franchise, they won't do it for you on that. What we want to see is that what's going to appeal to other people to begin with. So if I'm presenting your concept to somebody, my people are going to want to see that you're bringing in a net income of $100,000 or more. That's going to be something that's going to drive people. So that's one of the first things that we're going to look at. Doesn't mean you have to. There's plenty of franchise businesses out there.
Net income, not net profitability. So
net income. Basically, the bottom line, what are you taking home? And what are you putting into your private checking account every day or every month, something like that. So if you're doing $1 million in revenue, you need to be dropping 10% down to the bottom line.
Okay.
That makes them more appealing. It makes it easier to find other franchisees to do that. Now, that's just number one on that one. Now, again, I got quite a few franchises that I'll present to people that don't make that amount of money. That'll make under $100,000, but they're simple to do, easy business. So it's not absolutely essential, but it is a good start, good thing to do. What is essential, though, and what really helps is if you've done it more than once. So I've had quite a few businesses where the franchises come in, emerging brands. They have one franchise unit, a corporate-owned one. That one's a little bit more challenging because you haven't proven that you can reproduce that again in another location. The more locations that you have, the more times you reproduced it, you gain more credibility on that. On there. So 100,000 is a good starting point for income. Making sure that you've at least reproduced it once really helps finding future clients for you on that. And then whatever it is you offer, do people in just about every city and state need that service or product? Okay. Again, it doesn't have to be every single, but the more the merrier on that. So whatever the product is that you're doing, do people in other cities and states do it? Now, there's a boating franchise out there where you rent boats. Obviously, if you're out in the middle of Nevada or the desert, or you don't have any boats, you're not going to use it. Which still does well, and it's still growing strong because we have a lot of areas where you can use it. So the more areas where the product or service can be used, the better.
What are the main differences between franchising and licensing? Because I hear that thrown around a lot.
So licensing, we've had a couple of people that come in and do licensing, and we've actually got a couple of business opportunities where they're not franchising. In general, what franchising is, it's more strictly regulated by the government on there. So you have more checks and balances in that system on there. You have the franchise disclosure documents in there where you can see the number of franchisees who started the business and are still running it, the number of franchisees who started it are no longer running it. So it's easy to do the math on that to get a success rate on that, many different aspects to it. So a little more security on the part of people getting into it on there, a little more regulation as far as if you're the one becoming the franchisor on that to do it. With licensing, it's a little bit more loose on that. With franchises, we also probably 95% of the franchises will give out a protected territory as well. So you've got territory mapping to do and to think about when you're doing that. With licensing, you don't necessarily have to. You just sell or rent somebody a license, however you want to work it out. So it's the barrier to entry, as we were referring to before, is a little bit easier for people getting into it because it's generally going to be less of an investment on that. However, now you might have competition because if they want to sell a license, there's no restrictions necessarily for them to say that, they can't sell a license to, 100 different people in one small town on that. And you're just on your own doing that. You also don't have necessarily a list right in front of you where you can see all the different people who have been running that before. So you don't know necessarily how many people are in their systems or how many franchises open, how many franchises close. So with licensing, you don't know how many licenses open, how many licenses close. So there's good and bad points about each one, but licensing and specifically or just directly is just easier for the person selling the license to do it on that. But from a person that's buying it, there's a little bit more risk involved with that.
Is licensing a one-time fee or is there a percentage attached to it, like in franchising, royalties?
It varies. I've seen it vary a little bit between that. Sometimes someone will just buy a license and that'll be it. Depending on what that licensee is handing out, there might be some ongoing fees for using their proprietary systems on that one. So it's gonna vary a little bit depending on what the licensee is, what they're selling, what they're doing.
Greg, what's your paternal advice to that young person that maybe just graduated college, but mommy and daddy gave him a nice graduation gift and he's itching to get into the corporate world and own his own business, but has no operational experience? Would you advise purchasing a franchise to someone in that profile?
There's a lot of franchises out there that'll train you on everything that you need to do. So as long as your inner self, you've got a real strong desire to do that and are willing to take that time out of your day to go out there and learn what the franchise is going to teach you, it is a great experience. And there's a lot of smaller type franchises. As far as smaller, I mean fewer employees, so that you don't have a whole conglomerate of employees that you have to work with, maybe 2 or 3, where you actually can go out there and do that. And the franchise is really, it's going to vary. Some franchises are going to want you to have a lot of experience in there, but then some franchises you won't have to have as much experience. They'll train you on that. But they're really looking for is that deep down desire of the person that's getting involved in that franchise to really believe in that franchise system, and they will teach you how to do everything else. And you can learn. There's many different ways to learn. Absolutely, when you're younger like that, don't necessarily have the experience on that. We can find you franchisors that are willing to work with you and train you, as long as you have that desire in you to really just go out there and do it.
Now, Greg, Matt and I have had the pleasure of knowing you for several years. And like you said earlier, your team is super ethical, but we also see these trends come and go. I mean, just in the time that we've known you, we've seen acai bowls come and go. We've seen water massage tables come and go. We've seen stretching services, cryogenic rooms. I mean, when you're consulting with a client, do you ever get that roll of the eyes where this is too trendy and too much of a fad to get involved? Or do you just go all in because you just never quite know what's going to stick?
I leave that up to my clients. I let them know ahead of time with my 7 mistakes thing that I put out there for them. One of them is don't let what's hot or trending influence your judgment on that. Really get to know that industry itself and know that it is. Now, when Orange Theory came out, that was trendy and that was something different. If I would have told everybody, nah, don't buy that, you're not going to go anywhere with that. And all of a sudden it took off like that. They think I was nuts. Why don't you do that? However, you got to think about how many others at the same time had similar ideas, but did not make it on that one. So when we're getting into an emerging franchise like that, I ask the people that I work with, do you want to work with an emerging franchise? Only has a few franchises, 5 or 10, or would you prefer something that has 100 or more franchises? 100 or more franchises, top 5% of it's only about 5% of all the franchises in the US have 100 or more franchisees. So now you're in the top 5%. You've got 100 franchisees to call upon to find out how the franchisor did to help them on that. So good points there, good solid one. But emerging franchises, that could be the next best thing, but it's going to be a little bit more of a risk. So that's what I go over with my clients is how much of a risk are you willing to take? If you're going to go with that emerging franchise, get to know those people. Now, I have put people into emerging franchises before. They told me they want to look at, ones with only 100 franchises or more, but they want really some hands-on help. They really want somebody to just be there and hold their hand the whole way. I said, well, if I know the franchise, if I know the people from the emerging franchise, and I believe in those people, then I will say, go talk to these folks here. They're great people. They only have 5 franchisees, but they are what you're looking for in that hand-holding, because they got to make certain as an emerging franchise that their first few franchises are very successful, because that's what everybody else is going to be calling. That's who they're going to be calling in the future to see how the franchise is doing. So I had my guy look at 100 ones with 100 or more franchises. I had this one. He went with the emerging franchise because he really believed in them. Go ahead.
Now, Greg, you've consulted with hundreds of clients, and you've done this long enough where you kind of get a gauge on what works or what doesn't work. Like, what is that special recipe? What makes a good franchise succeed versus failing? Like, you use Orange Theory as an example. I mean, I see people come out of Orange Theory and it's like a cult. These guys high-fiving each other. Everything is wonderful. But then I also see Flywheel fail. And, we've also seen F45 have some very, very successful locations, but then have other unsuccessful locations. So, like, what is the differentiator between what works and what doesn't work from an operational level when you're analyzing a franchise?
One thing I can look at, Lou, is I look at the success rate of the franchise, especially when they've gotten up there to 50 or 100 or more or franchises. So if I see that they have a very high success rate, 85 to 90% or better, then what I know is that they are very good at picking out the correct franchisee for their system. So they shouldn't be just out there trying to sell as many franchises as they can, as quickly as they can, and they shouldn't be making money off the franchise fee itself. You want longevity in these. So when I see that they've got 50, 100 or more franchisees, they've got 85, 90% success rate or better, I know that they have what it takes to find that franchisee that is a good fit and will turn down ones that are not a good fit on there. The other thing I look at, and I get to know the franchises, I go out and visit with them in their headquarters, so look at what kind of culture they have on there. How do, the other franchisees feel about their systems as well. And as the high five and all that, that's a cultural thing. And there's different ones that have different cultures. The Neighborly Brands, for instance, which is the largest home services franchise in the U.S., they've got a great culture out there. I know Russ over at the Brown guys, when they get together on their yearly meetings with all their franchisees, it's just a great event. Everybody gets together and they do with good camaraderie. Everybody gets to know each other. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that great culture, and you'll find that as you investigate the franchises, talk to the franchisees and find out what kind of culture do they have. How are they getting together? How are they talking with each other? So those are the things I look at.
What's the Rolls Royce of franchises? Like, what is the one that performs the best and has the most prestige outside of, let's say, McDonald's?
I would say probably the Belfour Group is going to be one, because that is so you got Hoods, 1-800 water damage, 800 pack out. The Belfour Group is the largest restoration company in the world. They did have to clean up for Katrina.
I've never even heard of them, so that's amazing.
Yeah. And that's a funny thing when I talk to these people, they all want to talk about a McDonald's or Taco Bell or something, because that's what we see every day when we're driving around. But if we've never needed that service, never used it, we've never heard of that industry or anything like that. So that's what I tell people, some of these are not going to be name brands that you hear about because you never use the service. The other one that is, like I mentioned before, the Neighborly Brands. They have got about 20 brands underneath their portfolio. They got thousands of franchisees on there. And they're not necessarily, all the greatest, biggest money makers in the whole wide world, but they're just good, solid systems where if they do accept you, your chances of success are pretty darn good because they do have a great success rate.
So what type of brands do they have underneath them?
So if we're looking, like the Belfour Group, they've got the 1-800 water damage. Obviously, that's a services type thing.
What about Neighborly?
They have Hoods, which cleans out, your restaurant hoods stuff. Essential services business. You have to have it done. You have to have it checked off by the fire department. Great essential service. Got to do that. Ducts cleans out your duct work. Same thing. You got to have your duct work done on a regular basis. Good, solid essential services business on there. You get into the Neighborly Brands. you can basically take over the home. Great for vertical growth on that one. Molly Maids, Mr. Rooter, Mr. Appliance, the Ground Guys, Lawn Pride. They've got quite a few. Each one of their franchises, with the exception of Lawn Pride, which is their newest one they brought into, but each one of their other 19 franchises has at least 100 franchisees in it. So good, solid business. It's been around for a while. They don't approve everybody, but if they approve you, your chance of success are that much greater.
So let's dive deep into that for a second. So Neighborly Brands is the holding company that has all these other brands underneath them. Now, do they develop these brands, or do they go out and buy other businesses and turn them into a franchise?
Generally speaking, what they'll do is they'll take the franchise when it's in its infancy stage, and they'll expand it from there. So with Neighborly Brands, they just took on Lawn Pride, and when Lawn Pride came in, I believe they had 5 franchisees in there already,
Okay.
5 or 10. And they're going to build it up. So that's their newest one. So that's generally what they do. Authority Brands, Mr. Sparky, 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning, Benjamin Franklin Plumbing. They just brought in Screenmobile as another one of the new ones, which has a few, I don't think they have 100 franchisees yet. So they brought it in, and they'll bring in ones that they see potential in. And they say, that one's going to go somewhere. Let's bring it into our portfolio. It'll be a great addition to our family, and then we'll help build that one up.
Nice.
Greg, what happened to all those popular automotive repair brands that we used to see years ago?
Probably the same thing that happened with all of the yogurt brands that we saw a few years ago. They just didn't make it. So we still have a few of those. Still have Meinekes around. I still see Meinekes out there in my portfolio. Amco, Midas, they're still around. They're just and then those automotives are actually not too bad. I still get people. I still put in a couple people into an automotive franchise every year, so they're still good.
Well, I mean, in an environment like this, right? You have high interest rates. The average interest rate on a car right now is 9%. The average payment's $700. If your car is paid off and you don't want to go into Razor, it's gone. Usually, even if you switch cars every couple of years, if we're going into a recession, that's one of the best businesses to be in, because people are going to go fix their car rather than take on another car payment with these high interest rates where they're at.
Exactly right, Matt, and that's what got a lot of my people interested in them too, especially after COVID, when the supply chain kind of went away, and so buying a new car was like, whoa, way too expensive. I'll just keep mine and we'll just keep it going. Automotive is just one of those things, and I've had some pushback on there. Well, what about electrical cars and that sort of thing? It's a long ways off. I mean, it's going to get there, but the average person just can't afford to get an electrical car, and they just don't necessarily want it yet. So there'll be some things. I'll get some things that are popping up. I had some guy that did charging stations, and he wanted to turn that into a franchise. That hasn't gone anywhere yet. But Matt, to your point, yeah, that's another essential services that people are always going to use.
And Greg, where do you see the medical services space going vis-a-vis franchising? Is there a future for that field in franchises, or is it too regulated, too state specific?
Great point, Lou. That's one I haven't mentioned yet. That would be our other area that is just huge. Always medical services, always a great franchise system. They get around that with senior care or with lab work, mental health on that. They know the regulations in and out. So that's one of the good reasons why, if you want to get into that industry, you want to go with the franchise, because they've already gone through those. So they know the path to get it done. It's still highly regulated, but they know the path to get you to where you want to be. Another essential one, I put people in the medical services also quite often. Arc Point Labs, fast test labs. You can get in that. Senior care, senior helpers, seniors helping seniors, Griswold, all sorts of good companies. They've been around, 100 or more franchisees. Great systems. They will get you the license, get you the path to that license, make it simple and easy on that. So medical services is also a really good one to get into.
So what are some low barrier to entry that have a decent profit that you can get in for, let's say, less than $50,000 or $100,000?
I'd say less than 50, nothing that I would probably present to you on that. Just because I'd worry a little bit about those. $50,000, what you're looking at there is your franchise fee. So almost all franchises right around there at $50,000 for the franchise fee. So above and beyond that. So Matt, to your point, under $100,000, 5 or new. plastic, leather, vinyl repair on that one. Great niche one. Fiber New is huge. That's one you haven't seen.
What is that?
One.
Sorry, what is it?
Fiber New, FIBRENEW.
Yeah, what do they do?
Plastic, vinyl, and leather repair.
Okay.
So go into any business or any home who has plastic, vinyl, and leather. Well, more specifically, who doesn't? Everybody.
My grandmother's sofa.
There you go.
It's got all three. It's got all three. It's got the plastic, the vinyl, and the leather.
Autos, boats, any businesses with any chairs, every restaurant that you go into, and they've got a huge ROI. I mean, that's just great. If you want to do it yourself, I mean, your ROI is probably going to be up in the 80% range on something like that. If you want to do it yourself, you hire somebody, it's going to be a little bit lower. But that one is just an absolutely great one for going out there. And that's under $100,000. It's a franchise fee, advertising and marketing is what you're going to be doing for that one as well. Okay. If you want to get into, say, business services, business coaching, that's another good one. That's probably a little bit more challenging for most people to get into on that, because you'd have to be in the business and have to be have a good reputation as a good business person. But that under $100,000, Action Coach, Focal Point, are a couple of good ones.
Greg, have you come across a shoe repair franchise? Because I feel like that's like a lost art. It's so difficult to find a cobbler these days.
It's so funny that you said that. I was looking for one. I can't find one. I'm in Florida. There are a lot more in New York. I don't even know if they shut down.
Well, you guys are in Florida. You only wear flip-flops.
Yeah, that's true.
I know. I was doing the same thing because, we had horses for quite a while, and I loved my boots that I had, and I didn't want to get a new pair of boots. I just wanted them fixed. And, that is a lost art on that one. Apparently, nobody's getting their boots or their shoes repaired anymore. They're just throwing them out, and it's just a commodity now, and they're getting new ones.
The world of planned obsolescence. You just throw the shoes out. You don't fix them.
Yeah, but you know what? It's such a low ticket. You're not going to spend $100 to repair your shoes. You're going to go out and buy a new pair, unless you have like really good shoes, right? But I used to go to I used to put a bunch, especially in New York, right? When it was raining and snowing, you put taps on your shoes and you walk around because you buy better quality shoes and you want to keep them longer.
Yeah. We do have one that's kind of similar. Pierce Bespoke. It does the suits for people. And dress clothes for folks out there. That's an interesting one. That's right around the $100,000 mark, where they go out and they'll get you dressed up pretty nicely. So I'll have to check and see if he does any kind of shoe repair as well. But I know he does clothes, high-end clothing for a good price.
What about, let's say I come to you and I have some money sitting around. I need to put it to work, but I want to be completely hands off. What's the best hands-off franchise that you've come across? I don't want to do anything. I want to write you a check. That's it.
Matt wants to read a P&L every quarter.
Yeah, so we got 5 of them. Okay.
What do you got?
Yeah, we got.
I got my checkbook ready. Let me know. What do we got?
Spray foam genie. So spray foam insulation. That's a good one. Furryland, pet grooming. On that, we have fetch, dog sitting, dog walking. And we only have 4. Then we have Door Renew, which is they renew mostly front doors for people and businesses on that. That's their claim to fame. And they'll have a management team running that for you. So I think that's 4. Yeah, 4 that we have.
So wait, they have they put in a management team in place, and
what?
Okay. So how does it work? So break it down for us.
Okay, Matt. So they'll do exactly what you wanted to. You hand them a check on that. They put the management team together. They get the business up and running on there. They'll meet with you once a month, let you know how things are going. You check out the P&Ls. That's it. They do the rest for you. They're going to want you to pick up, generally speaking, more than one territory. So you're looking about a little bit larger investment for the franchise fee, and then the ongoing fees for marketing, advertising, paying the people. But they'll do everything else for you. And
what is the cost of that one?
That depends on how many territories you get. That could be $150,000 up to close to $1 million, just depending on whether you want 3 territories or 10 territories on there. I think they generally do only about 3 territories to start with, because it's got to be somewhat economically feasible for both you and them to run that. So they're looking for you to pick up a little bit of a region there.
Matthew's in the foam business. Love it.
Yeah. Send me over the info.
You got it. On its
Hey,
way.
Greg, a silly academic question. What makes franchising so popular and prevalent in America and almost obscure in the rest of the world?
Interesting enough, I do send franchises over to other parts of the world on that. You know, in the United States, it's so prevalent because of the fact that people see those businesses doing well out there and they want to be entrepreneurs. I think they're getting a little discouraged maybe with the corporate world and what their potential income is in the corporate world. A lot of people see, ceilings on that, what they can get. And they know that if they become an entrepreneur, because they've seen other people become entrepreneurs, that their income can increase whilst giving them time to do other things on that. But they don't have the greatest idea. So that franchise has got that framework. You never wonder what you're doing next. You've got that game plan all laid out for you. You walk in, put down your money, follow their instructions. As long as you're coachable, you're good. The rest of the world, I've had people that I brought over into the United States from other countries, on E2 visas, and I've taken other franchises and sent them to other countries, but not a lot. I don't get a whole lot from other.
Greg, are you saying that the American entrepreneurial spirit is live and well?
100%, Lou. People are just going nuts out there. Every January, I just get a ton of people for whatever reason after the holidays, the beginning of the
Join
new
the
year.
gym, open a franchise.
They just say,
I would assume with all these layoffs and people not being happy and being forced to go back to the office these days, your business has probably gotten a lot of inquiries. In a recessionary time, I would think that people would go out there and try. Maybe I'm not going back to the corporate world. I'm going to try something on my own. Let me see what I can do.
Exactly correct, Matt. People they learn that the fact that life can be different after COVID on that one. You get set in that mindset of going to the office every day. You get addicted to that every other week paycheck on that. Now all of a sudden COVID hits. Now all of a sudden your life is changing. And it's like, life's already changed. Why don't we just go for my dreams that I've had before of becoming a business owner? And you're right as well. Recessions, layoffs, whenever those things happen, we always get busier. I'm always going to be able to find you a business that's going to be an essential service that's going to be needed in your community. And you won't have to get worried about being laid off again.
And you get to control your own destiny. Matt, they don't call him the franchise maven for nothing.
Do you see anybody buying these franchises with not with a self-directed IRA?
Yes, I did. As a matter of fact, many of my people did. A good portion of them do it as well. I use the 401k plan, and then what I just did, put it into a self-directed 401k plan on that. Definitely a personal decision on that, whether or not you want to use your retirement money or whether you want to use other people's money. Probably most of my investors like using other people's money, but that's probably half. And then the other half like using their own money, don't want to go into debt. So if you don't want to go into debt, then I have funding people that'll do that, take care of everything for you, $5,000, and they'll take care of all the paperwork, make certain that you are compliant with the IRS. They did that for me. I did that for about 10 years. And then my CPA said, you got way too much money in your business account.
So let's break this down for the audience, just because they may not understand what a self-directed IRA is. Everybody knows what an IRA is. Everybody has a 401k plan. If you can actually put that into a self-directed IRA where you can invest in assets outside of the traditional stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, such as businesses, notes, and other real estate ventures. Most people don't know that. Now, it's interesting because I've never actually met somebody that actually purchased a franchise with it, because I thought they couldn't get paid from the franchise. There's probably some stuff in there, right? It has to be an arm's length transaction. But if you're just handing over a check, no? You've been through it, so why don't you tell us?
So this is what I did. I didn't have the cash. I had it in the 401k plan. So mine, Schooley Mitchell Telecommunications Consulting franchise that I got into to begin with, the first place. I went to the funding people. You got your 401k plan from a previous employer. Okay. Can't be with your current one because you can't move that that money around like you can in a former one. So,
well, one second. If you have a solo 401k plan and you're running a business, you can actually transfer it to a self-directed IRA. If you were working with a previous employer, correct, you have to roll it over.
Right. So previous employer, obviously the employer's not going to let you do it. That's a whole nother story. But so you left your employer, or you left another employer and you got a 401k from a previous employer. You take that money. You need to, first off, and my funding people will take care of this for you. And this is what I did. They convert it and they put it over into a self-directed 401k. You create a C corporation. So Matt's C corporation, and you create that, and you create the Matt C corporation checking account on that one. It's got to be a C corporation because you're buying stock, because you want to buy stock in your corporation. So when you put it into a 401k self-directed, you can buy stock in any corporation that you want to on that because it's self-directed. So you're creating your Matt C corporation because you're going to invest in your corporation on that one. So now you created your checking account, and now you've got your self-directed 401k plan. Now what you're going to do is you're going to buy stock in Matt's C corporation. So to buy stock in Matt's C corporation, same thing that you do when you buy stock in Microsoft, is you transfer money over to Microsoft. In this case, you transfer the money from your self-directed 401k plan into Matt's C corporation checking account. You then issue yourself stock certificates, which the company will give you, which is what I did. I had little stock certificates. Yay, little green stock certificates. You write it all in, keep track of it in the records on there in case the IRS ever asks. Keep track of that. Now you've got your stock certificate. Now you got the money in there. Same thing that you do with Microsoft or any other company that you do these days. They just don't send out stock certificates anymore on that. It's just all electronic stuff on there. It's as simple as that. And now you've got that money that you put into your C corporation on that, that you invested from your 401k plan. And now you can just use that money in staying in compliant with the IRS, which the funding people did for you, to build up your business. And that's what I did with mine. I just used it to buy my franchise with the franchise agreement, and anything that was related to the business expenses all went through the C corporation's checking account. Simple as that. The drawback on that, of course, is that now you've got the double taxation on that. You've got the taxation coming in from the corporation itself, and then when you pay yourself, then again you're taxed with that one as well. So if you don't want to pay yourself too much, or don't need to pay yourself too much, it works out really good. It still works out good if you got to pay yourself, but now you can also put money back into that 401k plan in there, and you can have an employee 401k plan as well, and do all sorts of neat stuff with it. At the end of the day, when you sell that business on that, what you're going to do with all those proceeds is that you're going to put them back into the 401k plan. So you just buying your stock certificates back. So now you're not getting taxed for that money. It just goes all back into the 401k plan, tax-free in that case, which is what I ended up doing. I switched it finally over to an LLC, tax as an S corporation, doing it myself as a consultant after a few years because I had too much money built up in the checking account itself. And CPA said, you need to get rid of that, send that all over there, tax-free. So many good things that you can do with that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I got to look into that a little bit more. I've been doing some real estate stuff, not business stuff with it, but we got to start looking.
Excellent.
Greg, thanks so much for being here, man. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on the socials?
FranchiseMaven.com is my website. That's franchise, MAV as in Victor, EN.com. Greg at FranchiseMaven.com, or just pick up the phone and give me a call at 361-772-6401.
All right, that's a wrap, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the show. And make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. We'll see you on the next episode of The Liquid Lunch Project.